Is academic research rigged? Are there invisible lines that prevent people from getting ahead? I'm going to tell you this, and I know that this is going to be painful for a lot of people to hear, but it absolutely is. And often every day I feel very frustrated with the progress that I make. I can sort of compare myself to other people and I think, well, how come I am not getting to the same pace that they are actually getting to, and that their research publication is that much more than what I actually have? But I want to tell you something. I think almost all markets are rigged. It doesn't matter what you're looking at, whether you're looking at Walmart and you're a small little side business and you're competing against Walmart, and it's going to feel and look like it's actually rigged. If you are a small dealership and you're competing against Ferrari and Lamborghini, it's going to feel and look like it is rigged. If you are a boutique little corner store someplace and you're competing against some large company, some other place, it's always going to feel like it's rigged. And it's up to you to be entrepreneurial. I want to give you a bit of evidence with this, right? So I was playing the traditional research game and trying to do things the way that everybody sort of taught me to do, and to go one thing at a time, just do publications and focus on the research game. And it wasn't until I actually started talking more broadly and talking on YouTube and different things like that, that people actually started recognizing who I was. Now, none of this stuff kind of quote counts as academic research in any sort of way, but it is one way that I actually navigated this border and navigated getting around the process. Now, everybody has their own different ways in how to do this. And what you have to sort of realize is that no matter where you are and who you are, you're going to be competing against other people that have different resources than you, that there are these invisible borders that we all know that are painfully clear. Once you're in the game, you realize, like, hey, how come I can't actually go from here to there? And the reason is that there's a whole invisible social structure behind almost all of life. And it does make it hard to move up. And it does make it challenging to sort of abide by the rules that are convention. And so what do I know of as somebody that studies innovation and entrepreneurship and how to actually navigate some of this stuff? Well, the first one is to play that game very, very well. And sometimes you could do that so well that you can move up in terms of how you're viewing yourself. That's not that common, though. I think the more traditional way in sort of a greater grand scheme of things is to reinvent the market, whatever that looks like. And that's what innovation and entrepreneurship is reinventing the market. And it could be done in all sorts of different ways. So it's basically thinking, another way to think about this is, how do you create something that is uniquely you and that is about you and that tells your story in the grand scheme of things? Ultimately, I think that's what we all aim for within the academic game, is telling those stories, whatever those particular things are, and whatever is ultimately you. And some of us can play that sort of conventional game very, very well. I can't do that. That's not who I am. I realized after many years, I've kind of given up with playing the conventional game and what that looks like, because it's just not working for me. But I can play all sorts of other things that work for me and that fit who I am. And that's where you have to think about your own individual traits in terms of how you succeed in this world. It's not thinking that you have to play the same game that everybody else is doing, but thinking about how you fit in and what's your good thing that makes you thrive and survive. And also a part of this is learning how to sort of say that the Serenity Prayer. And I don't know the exact words, but it basically goes like this: that you control things that are within your control, and then you let everything else go that's outside of your control. And you simply just say, hey, this is how I know things actually work for me, is I can get up and do the same thing every day that I feel comfortable with, and that's the only thing that I can actually do. And that's the only way that I'm going to make progress, is focus on the things that I have. And it's a good lesson and metaphor in almost everything that we actually see and do. I see people driving some amazing cars, and I can't control how I can either tear them down, or think about, maybe that's the way that I control that, is I sort of tear them down and think about how much that they're a bad person. Or I can work on what I have and just appreciate the amazing things that I actually have and the gifts that I have right now, and think about all of these amazing things that I have access to at my fingertips. Think about the fact that I'm able to actually talk to you on this amazing contraption that we didn't have 10 years ago. And everybody else is scared about doing that because they think that there's something that's going to happen to them. But, I think about all of these different things that allow me to be me. And I think about how much I appreciate those things today that allow me to be me. So yeah, the academic game is rigged. The whole research process, it is very much rigged. There is an entire literature. There's literatures on this. There's thousands of articles probably at this moment. I don't know the exact number, but many, many different articles that have suggested in various different ways how unfair the process is. But that goes with all territory in life. Everything is unfair. And it bothers me, where I think I get up and I'm like, oh man, I have to do this again. But I have to get myself in the right mindset where I think that the gifts that I'm offering are actually really wonderful things. These are amazing traits that I have that nobody else has. And I could downplay those things. I could say the fact that I'm okay with speaking to you when I'm just waking up, and that I don't look okay in terms of, all of this. That's a gift. Not a lot of people can do that. And I'm sure you have different gifts like this as well. I'm sure you have many different gifts. So I'd invite you to stop playing the conventional game and stop worrying about what everybody else has. They do have a lot more than you in those various different tiny little defined areas. They have access to all sorts of different resources that you don't have access to, but you cannot control that stuff. What you can control is all of the stuff that's going on here and the amazing traits that you actually have. They're beautiful, amazing traits that you actually have, that you think ultimately, that they're somehow weaknesses that you have. Like, I think that this is a weakness right now, that I'm able to actually, that this is how I'm communicating to you, because it's kind of like loosey-goosey and it's non-professional and all of that kind of stuff. But ultimately, this is my gift. This is the way that I can channel some of the good things that I have developed in my head, of repeatedly banging my head against the wall in a market that's not fair, where I just simply have to accept who I am and keep getting up and doing that same thing every day. And hopefully some other people around the world will catch wind of this and they'll believe, like, hey, wait a minute, that's a wonderful thing, and I think I can do that too. I think I can identify my weaknesses and turn those into my secret weapon, where I get to challenge the world with these amazing weaknesses that I have. And hopefully you can do that and do some amazing things with all of those limitations and weaknesses and terrible things that you think that are in your head that are holding you back. That's the amazing stuff. And I think you need to start leveraging that in all of the ways that you can.